So 7.3 is right around the corner, and I've done like 5 separate videos going over posts from the blues and changes and all that stuff on the PTR, but for this time, I'm just going to go over the patch notes and what's changing to just give you a brief idea without having to go back and watch like 5 different videos and figure out what stayed and what changed and all that stuff. So, starting off, Elemental Shaman, Earthquake damage increased by 19%. There's a buff. It was desperately needed because we were literally not using Earthquake during most AoE encounters outside of proccing Sephuz. Static Overload redesign. Now there's a lot of changes, and this is by far my favorite one. After using Stormkeeper, your next Chain Lightning causes Elemental Overload to trigger on every target. So, this also works on Lightning Bolt. They did actually add that. It's not in the patch notes for some reason, but unless it goes live different than it is on the PTR right now, it will also give Lightning Bolt a 100% chance to overload. Basically, this is what the old Static Overload is, but it only happens every time you Stormkeeper, but it also always happens every time you Stormkeeper. This overall is a massive increase to our realistic AoE and raid fights. The only time this might not be necessarily an increase is if you are strictly just doing 5-target AoE the entire time, no movement, no breaks, just always 5-target AoE, which is literally never happening. So this is a good change. It's also reducing our variance significantly and letting us be a reliable AoE burst spec, which is something that we've needed for a very long time if we're going to be an AoE spec. And because they added Lightning Bolt onto the list, that means we will not be using Chain Lightning single target, which is a good thing as well. So their little note before these changes that I'm about to list off says Elemental continues to have strong AoE capabilities, but we want to help make their single target a little more attractive. So first things first, all damage abilities increased by 6%, with the exception of Chain Lightning. This is just the aura buff, so that's good, 6% more damage. Earthshock damage increased by 7%. This is interesting because it was 13% like a week ago, and they just kind of randomly nerfed it, which I think was uncalled for. If they want to buff something else to make up for it, that's fine, because I understand wanting to make Earthshock not the main damage source, considering Gambling Build and Boots and all these other things synergize with it that require certain items. So I can see why they wouldn't want that to be a thing, but at the same time, they just flat out, they cut the buff in half and haven't said anything about it. So Frost Shock damage increased by 13%. This is going to make Ice Fury very good, potentially even better than Ascendance. More details on that later. The next note says this set of changes gives Elemental more room to benefit from their Mastery stat before reaching the hard cap of 100% proc rate. So this is something that we've mentioned many times on the forums and in Discord and everything. We've said that hard cap is coming closer and closer and closer, and if Mastery is still going to be a desirable stat, we're going to be reaching the cap of 86.5% Mastery with Elemental Blast very soon, without attempting to reach the cap. We were never supposed to attempt to reach the cap, but we are now at the place where if we were going for Mastery, we would be reaching the cap without wanting to reach the cap, which is a very serious problem, because that hurts us in the long run. It means we scale very poorly. So the idea behind these changes are good. I'll give more opinions on them after I read them. So Elemental Blast damage increased by 7%. That's good. Elemental Blast now provides 2,000 stats at level 110 instead of 2,400 stats. That's not good. One of the problems with this is it's a bigger nerf than it looks, because a lot of the time Elemental Blast would overload and give us 2 times as many stats or whatever. And basically, the damage buff wasn't enough. Elemental Blast is still worse than it was before. And next change is a big one. Elemental Overload now does 85% of base damage, well 75%, and its proc rate has been reduced by 17%. What this basically means is that every point of Mastery is going to give you 17% less than it did before. So you won't be reaching cap anytime soon. Like, I'm pretty sure my Shaman from live has like 72% Mastery or something, and on PTR it had like 55%. This could be off, it's just kind of a memory guess, but you're definitely going to have less Mastery. The damage is going up from 85%, or from 75% rather, to 85%, and with the traits it's going from 84% to 95% with the Overload damage trait. And the very last change is Totem Mastery. Storm Totem bonus reduced to 5% was 10%. Storm Totem was the totem that made it so your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning had a 10% increased chance to overload. This is now 5%. Totem Mastery would probably still be the most ideal option on the tier. If you have tier 20, potentially if you don't have tier 20, maybe Path of Flame, but who knows. We will get more details on that in the future. It'll all be on stormwithandlava.com, so check out that. As the patch goes live, it'll have that information ready. So basically, the Mastery change is also a nerf. So Elemental Blast change is a nerf, and Mastery change is a nerf. We did get other buffs that are making up for it. So we are not actually getting nerfed. Just want to point that out. We are going up in damage. So what should you expect to see from Elemental Performance going into 7.3? You will be a lot more useful on Burst AoE, and the fights that were already powerful on, like Harjatan and Mistress and stuff, you will be even stronger. And same thing with fights like Desolate Host. On single target, you will see a relatively small increase, and you will probably see an increase in Ice Fury and an increase in Gambling. And I wouldn't really recommend trying to do both at the same time, but both of those will be getting stronger. I, for one, am very excited about Ice Fury getting stronger. But the last thing you will definitely notice is that Mastery is going to be going down in your priority significantly. If you have tier 20, you already didn't want very much Mastery. So this isn't a huge deal, but just know that we are back to Crit Haste and avoiding Mastery. So get ready for that in the future, especially, probably especially so going into tier 21, because the set bonus there doesn't really benefit Mastery much at all. So same thing with tier 20, both of them don't like Mastery. But that is the basic overview of what is changing and what to expect from it. I do not think this is going to make Elemental much better than it already is. We still are not getting any more defensive buffs. We are not getting that much of a single target buff. And from what I've seen of other classes, most other classes that are weaker than us or with us are also getting buffed. So I think we'll be in a very, very similar place. I don't think we're getting any better. Mythic Plus, we might get kind of good. Or we're already good in Mythic Plus. We might get even better in Mythic Plus because of the Stormkeeper change, allowing us to burst down certain packs really, really quickly. And also just the regular other buffs. And the nerfs don't really affect Mythic Plus because Mastery wasn't really a thing you wanted there anyway. The Storm Totem nerf rather is the only one that really will be super noticeable in Mythic Plus. So that is, I already said I had the basic overview, but that is the basic overview of what is changing for Elemental Shamans performance-wise in 7.3. The other thing that is changing is your animations. I made a couple videos going over the animations. It's basically all the shocks are getting changed. Both the animation, like the actual spell animation, and the animation your character does. Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Chain Lightning, Healing Surge, and Elemental Blast, and Ice Fury were also getting changed, I believe. But they have kind of undone some of them and changed some of them since my videos that I released. So if you want to see all the newest animations, I believe Barako Shama is actually uploading a 7.3 video similar to this one, and that will be going into more detail on all the little things outside of just the patch notes, like the animation changes, and we'll be showing them. So if you want to see that, link in the description below. But that basically sums it up. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm sorry that this kind of sucks. We aren't really getting a whole lot better here. At least they are looking now, but at this point, just in case, I know people are probably going to ask, I will not be going back to Shaman for 7.3. I might be going back for Argus, depending on how the fights lay out and how the changes lay out. Basically depends on if I feel my Shaman is capable of outperforming my Priest. I will consider going back, but for now, I will be remaining a Shadow Priest. I will continue to make content in LA Shaman. I will continue to play LA Shaman, just not for Mythic Progression. I don't recommend, as always, I do not recommend that you guys reroll unless you already have another character completely ready to go, like I did with my Priest already being 915 with Concordance and 6 legendaries and everything. If you don't have that, then don't just attempt to reroll. If you're going to attempt to reroll, then do it over time. But that's a discussion for another day. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys next time.